Hello everyone, this is T-REX320. For this video, I'm going to do something different from the usual online battle and time attack contents. As you will have noticed recently, some other fellow Ridge Racer 7 YouTubers has been uploading tutorial videos like explaining some rather important techniques that newcomers needed to understand to get better in this game, such as nitrous points, drifting techniques, wall jumps, and so on. Now, originally I wasn't planning to do this sort of videos, since I think the YouTubers I've mentioned above have pretty much done most of the tutorial videos that needed proper explanation already by now. Until a few days ago, I received a comment asking if I could make a guide about setups for each machine. And that somehow got me thinking, maybe I should try something new as well. So that led us to here. What I'm going to do in the following is talk about the engine tune-ups and tires and suspension for each machine in sequence order. Then I'll generally talk about some of the commonly used nitrous types. The machines that I'm going to talk about is based on category 1, so if you would like to know about the setups of machines in other categories, please feel free to leave a comment down below and I will do my best to answer each question individually. Before we get started, I should address that Solvalo engine, being the one with both top speed and acceleration in the middle ground, doesn't have any advantages on track, no matter in online battles or time attacks. Therefore, I'm only going to mention the other two engine manufacturers, Draga and Soul Gear, in the following. We begin with the classic Ridge Racer machine, Kamata Fiera. The best tires and suspension for this machine is Astrof Grip Plus 3. As this tire setup provides the most agility and nitrous charge efficiency. For some starters who might find that Grip Plus 3 is too loose to handle with, I recommend they should start off with Grip Plus 2 first, before progressing to Plus 3. Now it depends on which track you're racing at. If it is on short and narrow tracks with lots of tricky turns, such as Island Circle and Sunset Heights, Soul Gear engine should make life a lot easier as it has phenomenal acceleration for recovering speeds. But in most cases, Draga engine is actually the one that's being widely used due to its having a much higher top speed, which benefits to optimize the ultimate charge. This basically applies to all other customizable machines unless specified. Next, we move on to Asha Bailey, which is actually a bit odd considering being a standard type machine, as it requires fitting Bosconian tires for the best nitrous charge efficiency instead of Astrof tires. I would recommend Mount Plus 2 for the Bailey because Plus 3 would make it way too easy to get heavy understeer in hairpin corners, which is the last thing you would want to happen if you were hoping to get the best possible nitrous charge in the corners. The same characteristics can be found in the Oscillator Fatalita, which means the tires and suspension setup for this machine is basically the same as the Bailey. But be careful that this machine can be a bit easier to get understeer than the Bailey. Moving on to the Oscillator Bisonte, a machine that many of you should be very familiar with in Ridge Racer 7. This is said to be very much the same as the Fiera, as they both have the exact same engine and nitrous top speeds. They also have the same handling characteristics, which means they both require Astrof Grip Plus 3 setup. The only difference between them is that the Bisonte has a slightly more stable suspension than the Fiera, which makes it less likely to lose control over bumps and rough surfaces. Sold Out Melfire is also a standard type machine that is on the rather mild side, like the Bailey and the Fatalita. That means needing to fit Bosconian Mild Plus 2 tires as well. Simple as that. Terrasi Centelate, on the other hand, is a slightly different story. Despite it also needing to fit Bosconian tires for the maximum nitrous charge efficiency, the understeer issue is not as serious as the Fatalita. Therefore, I recommend suspension settings up to Mild Plus 3. Of course, Mild Plus 2 works just as fine. The handling characteristics for Kamata RC410 is quite the same as the Bailey, Fatalita, and Melfire, so the tires and suspension setup in this machine is also Bosconian Mild Plus 2. Just to remind once again, Mild Plus 3 would make this machine too numb in changing directions and easy to get understeer during drifts, so be careful with that. Next, we move on to proper mount type machines, And we begin with Asha Prophecy. The standard tires and suspension setup is Astroph Grip Plus 3. The reason is pretty much the same as with the Fiera, to get the most agility and nitrous charge efficiency out of it. Like the Fiera, it also has a soft suspension, so for beginners I recommend they start with Grip Plus 1 or Plus 2 before progressing to Plus 3. Terrace Wildgang is a little different from other mild time machines when it comes to tires and suspension, because if you fit Astroph tires, it becomes extremely loose. It is much easier to oversteer and much more difficult to regain grip from drifts, basically just like driving on ice. Therefore, in the early days, many players fit Bosconian mild Plus 3 tires on it for the sake of preventing wrecking themselves out. However, with Bosconian tires, not only it is easier to get understeer, but also provides a less tighter turning circle than Astroph does. Therefore, advanced players will at least fit Astroph Grip Plus 1 tires on the Wildgang. And as time moves on, more and more players realize the upsides and importance of Astroph tires on the Wildgang. However, I would still recommend starters to begin with Bosconian tires first. Moving on to Gennady Magnifico. Comparing to the Prophecy, this machine has a much more stable suspension. That means it is easier to handle with, even with Astroph on Grip Plus 3. But if you're still not confident about Grip Plus 3, Plus 2 would do just as fine. But be careful that the handling would become less agile in the corners. Hemo EO also has an easy handling like the Magnifico does, so it would be best with Astroph Grip Plus 3 as well. I would also recommend Grip Plus 2 in this machine for starters. Once again, Gennady Esperanza also has pretty similar handling characteristics with Magnifico and EO, so basically just fit it with Astroph Grip Plus 2 or Plus 3. Now, at this point you may be wondering why I still haven't mentioned Rolling Thunder yet. Well, that's simply because this tires and suspension is designed specifically for and used by dynamic type machines only, which is what I'm going to talk about right now. Denver Bayonet is the easiest dynamic type machine of all to start with. Of course, that's only under the condition that it is fitted with Astroph Grip Plus 3 tires. Now, even though dynamic type machines overall have better acceleration with Rolling Thunder tires, which is pretty crucial in time attacks, but it is also rather difficult to handle with for starters. Even for veterans, they would prefer Astroph tires on the Bayonet in online battles because it has a better grip, so it is easier to handle. That means less likely to make any mistakes. Bosconian tires have no particular function in this machine apart from using reverse nitrous for fun, so I'm going to skip through it and move on to talk about the next machine. In contrast, Bosconian mild Plus 3 tires does have a particular function on the Terrace Star nose, which is to do sign drifts at Bayside Freeway and Category 4 Aviator Loop, and that is obviously something for veteran players to do only. In online battles, some players would choose Astroph Grip Plus 3 tires for easier handling and drifts in corners, while some players would choose Rolling Thunder Dynamic Plus 3 tires for the best acceleration and nitrous charge performance overall. Either choice will work just as well in this machine. One important note about the engine choice of this machine is that because it already has such a quick acceleration itself, Zolgear engine is quite useless to starters, and it is obviously less efficient than Drug engine in the ultimate charge performance. Moving on to the Shingsong Motors Hijack. This machine is also better to fit Rolling Thunder Dynamic Plus 3 tires for the best overall speed performance. But for starters, I would recommend Bosconian mild Plus 3 to begin with, because despite Rolling Thunder Plus 3 in this machine is not as difficult to handle drifts as other dynamic machines, it is still rather on the loose side, so it is not easy to regain grip from drifts as well. Bosconian tires may provide a slower acceleration and less efficient ultimate charge performance than Rolling Thunder, but it is much easier to drift and handle with. So what about Astroph tires on this machine? Trust me on this, you definitely wouldn't want to try this combination. It is basically hell. Besides, it's not practical in any way either. Now, the Sold Out Raggio, which is objectively the weakest dynamic machine. not only because of its ridiculously slow nitrous top speed, but also because of its soft suspension, making it the most disadvantaged over uneven surfaces on tracks like Island Circle and Midtown Parkway. Just like the Bayonet, normally you only need to fit Astrof Grid Plus 3 tires. If you're confident with your handling skills, then you could try Rolling Thunder Dynamic Plus 3. Basically, you won't need to use Oscillina on this machine at all. At last, we come to the Denver Hijack, famous for having incredibly slow acceleration performance. Most players would get around this problem by fitting Soul Gear engine. Not only it could accelerate quicker than most other machines with the same type of engine, but also have the nitrous top speed that could still keep up with most other machines with Draga engine. Therefore, I recommend starters should begin with Soul Gear engine in this machine. However, Draga engine is not completely useless on a Hijack at all. In fact, on longer tracks, if you could manage the gear changes and nitrous strategy properly from the get-go, it could still be able to catch up other machines in time and contend for a win. Draga engine Hijack also has a way better ultimate charge ability than the other 4 dynamic type machines. Yes, it may have an even slower acceleration than with a stock engine, but conversely, it reduces speed much slower after the nitrous expires, which helps get a better amount of nitrous during the ultimate charge. Tires and suspension wise, it's very much the same as the Bayonet and Ragio, just fit Astrof Grid Plus 3. It is the most common choice in online battles and even in time attacks anyway. Before I summarize up this video, I would like to talk about some of the most common nitrous types used in online battles. Galaxia Normal Charge U is commonly regarded as the most impartial type of nitrous to be used in online battles. The main reason why General Resources Reverse Nitrous is very not welcome is because of the way it works, which could cause troublesome and danger to the whole field. What's more, it does not need any strategy in terms of nitrous points, which kinda spoils the point of online battles. Consumer Tech High Nitrous, Flex Nitrous, and Extended Nitrous, on the other hand, is a bit within the grey zone, because it is not exactly unwelcome by everyone, but sometimes there may be some players using this type of nitrous to take advantage and deny others opportunity to win races by getting pushed all the way to the finish. In short, if you really wanted to get better properly in this game, I suggest you should stick with Charge U after all. Right, that should pretty much covers up all the machine setups information you need to know about. If you want to know furthermore about machines customization, the amount of credits and fame points for each offline events, and how to obtain the plugin units, etc., you may refer to the unofficial complete Ridge Racer 7 guide compiled by a number of former Ridge Racer 7 players from more than a decade ago. I will put the link to the guide in the description below. Please do feel free to have a look. Last but not least, if you think there is anything I could have done better in this video, or if you wish to see me upload more tutorial videos in the future, please let me know by commenting down below. Don't forget to press the like button and subscribe to my channel. Thanks everyone for spending time watching this tutorial. Take care and have a good time.